Jackie Collins has written some 30 books, all of them hitting the New York Times bestseller list, and her latest joins the others in that achievement. It's titled Confessions of a Wild Child, and it deals with the teenage years of one of her most popular heroines, Lucky Santangelo, the lead character in 8 of her novels, as well as 3 television miniseries. There's also a companion cookbook this time, featuring some wonderful recipes. Jackie, always good to have you on this program.
It's always great to be here, Tavis.
Before I jump into this conversation, Jonathan, Mike, can you get, who's on this? Get this necklace for me. I just want to, I want to ask you about this. Good Lord.
Okay.
Tell me about this. Is that a turquoise?
That's a turquoise, yeah. And I designed it myself.
You designed this?
Yes, I'm a control freak, Tavis. I do everything myself.
That's a beautiful necklace.
I like to design my clothes, I design my jewelry. Yeah.
That is a beautiful necklace.
In my spare time, of course.
Wow, yeah, your spare time.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you do, because since I last saw you,
yes,
you've written 3 books since you were last here.
I know. The Power Trip, and then these 2 books. Yeah.
How do you pace yourself? How do you, this is a question I'm asking not to be flippant about it.
Right.
So I think there's some advice in there for all of us.
Absolutely.
We all have the same 24 hours in each day.
I know, and
it's how we use it.
I want 6 more hours a day.
Well, so do I.
Yeah, I
but
know.
You ain't going to get it.
Oh.
We got 24.
Okay.
But how do you manage your time to be so prodigious in your work?
Well, it's a question of absolutely having to do it, because you know I write in longhand. I told you that before. So I have to say to myself, I'm cutting myself off from everybody today. I'm going to write from 9 o'clock in the morning till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm going to go to my TiVo, because you know I'm a TV addict, and watch some shows. And then I'm going to go out and do some research, have dinner at friends' houses, or go, you know, to a premiere or something, or a party. And then the same old thing the next day, unless I'm promoting a book, which is really fun for me because it gets me away from the desk, and it's a great excuse.
Yeah. You've described yourself in the past as a sort of anthropologist.
Crawling, yes, crawling through the jungles of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I went to this great party in Malibu on Saturday night, and it was so interesting observing people. You know, I like to sit there, and I've got my drink, and a couple of friends are sitting there, and I'm just watching. And there were a lot of famous people there, so it's fun to watch them, you know, when they're letting their hair down, so to speak.
I mean, you would never, you never would, and you never have, you know, outed celebrities in your text. That's not what you do in your novels.
Absolutely not.
In your novels, you don't do that. But I wonder whether or not people, you know, are on their best behavior when you come around, lest they be a character in one of your books,
you know,
unbeknownst to them.
I know, it's so interesting because if they don't know me, if I meet a celebrity and they've never met me before, they're very cautious, and I can see that kind of cautious thing going on.
Right.
But my friends, and I know a lot of celebrities, are always, when are you going to put me in the book?
Yeah.
When am I going to be there? You know?
That's just like Hollywood. They want to be in the book.
And I don't know if I told you this before, but the late, great Peter Sellers said to me one day that one of his mother-in-laws had told him that I had written a book about him. And so he said to me, is this true? And I go, yeah, here it is, read it. It was The Hollywood Zoo. And he read it, and he went, wow, you really captured me, better than going to a psychiatrist.
That is funny.
Yeah.
So let me, you've got so much stuff to talk about. Let me jump first to the new book, Confessions of a Wild Child. So now we get to go back into Lucky's early years.
We do. And I wrote this as a young adult book. I thought this will be fun. I gave it to my publishers. I delivered it, and they go, oh, no. This is for everybody. Everybody loves Lucky. So we're going to put this out as a book for everyone. And I said, but it's for teenagers. It's really, how does Lucky become the strong woman she is today? How does she do it? How does she, you know, get over the fact that her mother was murdered when she was 5 years old, and she finds the mother's body floating in the family swimming pool, and Gino the ram locks her away for 15 years, you know, and then sends her off to boarding school. How did she become the strong Lucky Santangelo?
And what is the thread?
The thread is she's discovering boys, sex, rock and roll, drugs, all those things in life that we have to go through when we're teenagers.
That thread always works, doesn't it?
It does. You bet it does.
That thread always works.
Yeah.
In short, without giving it away, in short, how do all those experiences help make her who she is, this strong
Because
person?
she sees in her father a very chauvinistic man. He's Gino the Ram. He's this, you know, fabulous character that I created in Chances. And he goes on to become a big gangster, and then he becomes legitimate. He builds hotels in Vegas. And she watches him when she's a kid, and she says, I want to be just like Daddy. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build hotels. I'm going to be powerful. But he has a son, Dario, who happens to be gay, and in Confessions reveals this to Lucky, and she says to him, what whatever you do, you cannot tell Gino, because he's the kind of man that would never accept it. But she accepts it totally. But she still says, I want to take over the family business. I want to be the one. And Gino says, no, 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 you're a girl, you're a woman. You got to have kids, get married. You know, that's what you're going to do. And she says, oh, no, I'm not. And you see her strength emerge as she starts to learn about life.
Since you mentioned her gay brother,
yeah,
in this new book, Confessions of a Wild Child, it made me think, and so I'll ask, as you look back over your 30 novels,
yes,
how have they tracked the changes? You know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yeah.
The changes in our society and the issues that are in play at that particular moment. It ain't like gay people just got here. I mean, we've
no,
yeah.
exactly.
But I wonder, when you look back over your 30 books, whether or not they have tracked in the books themselves what was happening in society at that time.
I think they have tracked that very much. In fact, a gay man wrote me a letter the other day, and he had listed all the gay characters I've written about, and he says, you're the only writer I know that has had gay characters in her books ever since you started writing. And of course they've had more freedom as we, you know, as we change the laws in this country, and gays are getting, you know, being able to get married and things like that. Yeah, I've tracked that in my books. And when I wrote Chances, for instance, I had two running families. There was the Santangelo family, who were Italian Americans, and there was the other family, Carrie, who was a black family. And Stephen is still around. In fact, he's coming back in the new book that I'm writing now called The Santangelos, which is kind of a wild book to write. Yeah.
Have there been occasions where you have wanted to, and have, even though you fooled us in the process, wanted to cause us to wrestle in your reading with certain social causes and social issues, and you've done that, but you've done it in a way that we are entertained by, so that we don't feel like you're proselytizing or preaching to us? You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I feel that very much.
Yeah.
I feel that very much. I got a letter from a woman the other day, and across the envelope she'd written, "You saved my life." And then I read this letter, and it was typed, and it was really beautiful. And she said, you know, she lived in a country where genital mutilation took place on girls. And she said she had a very powerful father. And the father said, you're going to do this. And she said, no, I'm not. And she said, the reason I said, no, I'm not, was because I had just read your book, Lucky. And she said, I felt that a woman could be strong and could stand up to her father. And now she has an organization in America which is trying to stop this going on. And I felt, oh my gosh, that's fantastic, you know? I really felt proud of that.
Yeah. What brought on, as I mentioned earlier, this is now book 8 that deals with the Santangelos in one way, shape, or form, but you've written 30. How did they enter into the Jackie Collins matrix?
You know, I don't know if I told you this before, but when I came to America, I was very young. I was like 15. I was expelled from school. I know I told you that.
I know that story very well.
Yes. But did I ever tell you about my godfather?
Tell me about this.
Yeah, so I had this girlfriend, and she was a couple of years older than me, and she had this boyfriend called Slim, and nobody knew who he was, and we lived in this kind of Melrose Place type apartment complex, and you know, everybody was trying to do something. They wanted to be writers, directors, actors, but they were, you know, parking cars and pumping gas. And so she said she broke up with this boyfriend, and she said he was older than her and from New York, and she said, come with me. I just bought a car from 2 guys that I was dating, and it was great. It was a Buick. I'll never forget it. And she said, you can drive me to Bel Air. He's got a house there. He's got my television. I want my television back. We can get in through the window, get the television, we'll get out, and this will be great. So off we go to Bel Air. Little did I know, when we open the window, dogs come running, guards appear, all this stuff goes on. And it turned out she was living with the son of a really powerful guy from New York, you know what I mean. And the son was good looking. He had been sent out to Hollywood because he wanted to be a movie star, which never happened. But he was a really great guy. And because I was so young, he kind of, you know, he got rid of her and took me under his wing in a platonic way, and he became my godfather. And I based Ginos Santangelo on him. And I knew him for very many years. And we would go to New York sometimes. He would take me to New York, and I would meet all these guys, and you'd be at, you know, straight out of The Sopranos. And I'd be sitting at a table, and I'd say to this one guy, what do you do? And he'd go, I'm in the waste disposal business. And I'd like, oh. And so I was finding out all this information. So when I wrote about Gino, he really was based on this guy. And I really knew these characters very well. So I kind of write about, you know, Hollywood movie stars, because I know them very well. And the mafia kind of guys, gangsters, and women, you know, like cliche characters, which you see in Hollywood all the time. You see them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were teaching a class,
Yes.
and you were asked, you know, to just list the 3 or 4 things, or not the 3, but 3 or 4 things
Yes.
that you have to make a novel work.
Well,
what would you put on that list?
I would say, first of all, you have to write about what you know.
Okay.
Don't write about Hollywood if you've never been there. You know, even if you work in a little town and you work in the department store there, there's always something going on. There's always things that you know about that nobody else, because everybody's life is different. So you write about what you know. That's number 1. You write. That's number 2, because so many people talk about it and do not do it. And what I say to them to encourage them, and especially women, because girls can do anything, I say, if you wrote a page a day, at the end of the year, you would have a book. Whether it's any good or not is beside the point, but you would have a book instead of just talking about it all the time. And then the third thing, you have to have a passion for what you do. You have to have a passion. I don't plan my books. I don't know what's going to happen. That's why I could pick up any one of my 30 books and I could continue the story on, because I just get to a certain amount of words and then I say, I better wind this up, otherwise this is going to be War and Peace. And so I would say that, and have this passion. You know, I wake up in the morning, I still have a passion for what I do, and I'll be doing it when I'm 105. I'll be scribbling away, you know, and if it was 100 years ago, I'd be sitting by the campfire saying, have I got a story to tell you?
Yeah. Does this stuff just come to you? How did, I said, I have such great respect. I've written a number of books. My stuff is all nonfiction.
Yes.
I have such great respect for fiction writers, because when I start to write something, I have a subject that I'm writing about. And I want to dissect it and deconstruct it and get you to re-examine your assumptions about it, expand your inventory of ideas about it. But I'm starting with something.
Yes.
You start with nothing.
Start with nothing.
And you build a story around it. So does the stuff just come to you?
It does, because right now with the Santangelos, and I've left it at a pivotal point because I've been on tour with both these books, but right now Max is like the new it girl in Europe. You know, she's like a Cara Delevingne, and she's 18, and that is Lucky's daughter, and her son has just been arrested in Chicago for a murder he did not commit, but he set up. And it's so interesting to me to get back to it, because I don't know what's going to happen next. Is he going to get bail? Is he going to get out of it? I don't know. I don't know until I write it. Yeah. And so I sit down, the characters take me on the trip. They really do. I become that character.
When you've written 30 New York Times bestsellers, obviously you've done some good work. Obviously you have a huge fan base and people love what you have done.
Yeah.
When you look back from book 1 to book 30, can you tell whether or not you become a better writer?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You can see it?
I can spell now.
I can spell now. I'm asking because if the first one's on the bestseller list, and the 10th one's on the list, and the 15th is on the list, and the 20th, and on, and the 30th is on the list, how do you know that you've gotten to be better?
Because my writing is better.
Right.
I mean, I am a storyteller. I'm not a literary writer, and I don't want to be a literary writer. People say to me, oh, when are you going to write something different? What? I don't want to write anything different. I'm writing relationships between people, all different colors, all different sizes, all different sexual orientation, and that's what I want to do. So I think that when I read my books, and I don't have time to do it once I've finished a book, it's there, you know, but when I read back, I can see like little improvements. You know, stupid things like not repeating words, which a lot of writers do, even good writers, and things like that. But I do think, and it flows. My books flow. People say they pick them up and they can't put them down. It's because when I'm writing them, I pick my pen up and I cannot put my pen down. Yeah.
I'm going to clean this up for television, but the great writer Maya Angelou once said that easy reading is darn hard writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is absolutely right. You know, the easier you make it look, the more difficult it is. Yeah. You know, creating characters, as you said, out of nothing and making them interesting, and that's another advice I would give to writers. You've got to make your characters interesting, because if you think you're going to write a sexy book and it's just going to be about sex, well, if you don't care about the characters, what do you care about their sex life? You know, put on your internet and watch some porn if that's what you want.
I know you're gonna live to be 800 years old, because your energy never wanes every time I see you. Yeah. And you're always cranking out 2 or 3 books at a time, and I haven't gotten to the cookbook yet, which I will in a moment. We're gonna get to that. But if in your obit, years from now, they said that Jackie Collins wrote about relationships.
Yes.
Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate. Because
that's what I see your stuff as. In a nutshell,
Yeah.
it's about relationships.
yeah, it is about relationships
Yeah.
because it's not chick lit, it's not romance, it's not thrillers, but it's all of those things mixed up, and it's about people. It's really about people and how they react to what is going on in the world around them. And that's Gino. For instance, I've taken Gino from a 13-year-old boy who comes to America at the beginning of the last century, and now he's a 90-something-year-old man. And I've followed his whole path, and it was so interesting for me to write that. And I have so many friends that I can talk to. Well, one of your great friends, Sidney Poitier, his wife, his beautiful wife, Joanna, is my best friend. So we often, you know, Sidney and I have wonderful discussions because he's, you know, Sidney's discussions when he's on a roll. And incidentally, on Confessions of a Wild Child, his daughter, Little Sidney, we call her Little Sidney, although she's 6 foot tall, she read it for the audio. She read the book for the audio.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I have to send you the audio.
I would love to hear it.
She's fantastic, and she does all the voices. As you know, she's a terrific actress.
She's a wonderful actress,
and completely beautiful.
Yeah, that well.
So I was thrilled that she did it.
Hard not to be when Joanna and Sidney are your parents.
I know. Yes.
Hard not to be.
Absolutely.
I was about to ask a question, and I'll put it out there, although I suspect you don't even know the answer, given what you said earlier.
Yes.
Because you don't know where your books are going to go. But how does it change things when Gino finally dies? He's in his 90s now.
Well, you're going to have to read the Santangelos to find that.
See, I'm into the next book already.
I feel that I'm heading in that direction, and I know that the fans are going to be furious if anything happens to him because they love him.
He got to die at some point.
He's Gino the Ram.
Yeah,
you
but he can't live forever, though.
No, exactly. I know. So it's going to be interesting if I get to that point in the story.
So if that were to happen in the Santangelos, because that's where the story ends up taking you, and that's why I said you don't even know where the story is going to go. You're working on it. I get that. How scary is it for a writer to be looking at something where you know the character is dancing with mortality?
It's very scary as a writer because you know that the people who read you, and because I have so many young fans that start reading the books about the Santangelo family, and they're just, you know, they're going through the 7, 8 books, and so I don't want to disappoint them when a character goes. But so, I mean, I've tried for 3 books to kill off Lucky's husband, Lenny. Can't do it. The fans won't let me do it. They write to me, don't you dare do anything to Lenny, because I wanted to give Lucky some freedom. Not that she hasn't had plenty of freedom in her life.
And taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, she's had 3 husbands. She's, you know, got a revenge kill in there for her murder of her mother and her brother and her fiancé. And she's done amazing things. I mean, she really has.
And now Lucky has a cookbook.
She has a cookbook. You know, I was sitting at my desk one day and I thought, why not? This will be something to give back to the people who love this character. This will be something, instead of being a book that goes, you know, from hardcover to paperback and goes back on the shelves, this will be something they can put in their kitchen and have fun with. I've written little scenes between Lenny and Lucky in the book. There's illustrations of Lucky, which I think are fun.
And some good drinks.
And some fabulous drinks. There's the Jackie Collins created for me by Wolfgang Puck, who you know very well. Yes.
This, it's a gorgeous cover, and the photos on the cover of the food are making me hungry even as we sit for this conversation now. By the way, another nice necklace. I love that. You designed that one too?
I did.
Good Lord. I gotta come hang out with you and get a discount.
Yes, and the illustrations of Lucky are fun too. She wears some of my jewelry.
And these pictures are great.
Yeah, those are fun. Sidney's in there. And Joanna.
How would you describe, because you every time we talk, you're always at some event, you know, whether you're being honored or just hanging out. You're at some event, you're at some party, you're doing this, you're doing that. What role has food and drink played in your life and in your work?
Well, a lot, really, because my husband, when he was alive, owned nightclubs. And he owned the Ad Lib in London and the Tramp Club in London, Tramp in LA. And so food was very much a part of our lives. So, you know, they would make these incredible hamburgers at Tramp, and then I was engaged to an Italian, so along came the pasta and the meatballs and the delicious meatballs. In fact, I was making them this week at the LA Fair, which was so funny. And food is very important. My mother used to make fabulous roast potatoes, English roast potatoes. They're in the book. And the Santangelo salmon is absolutely delicious. Am I making you hungry?
Yes, you are.
There's desserts. This is not your ordinary cookbook. This is a fun cookbook. If you're on a diet, don't even bother.
Don't even bother,
because it's got ingredients that you can actually find. You know, when you read a cookbook and you go, what the hell is that? Never heard of that. And you've got to go to the supermarket and search for it.
I was about to say one of the great compliments to you is as I flipped through and went through the book,
yeah,
that it's one of those books where it seems at least that you can actually find these ingredients.
You can, exactly.
It's the worst. It's the worst thing. I won't call any names. But I've talked to folks. They come on with a cookbook, and I'm like, who in the world
is going to do that?
Is going to find that?
Yeah, you've got to go to a Japanese market and scour through everything to find the ingredients. No, this is very simple. They're easy to do. They're fun. You know, I mean, if you want to have a decadent, fun evening, and I have like suggestions for music you might want to play. You know, a little Usher, a little Drake, a little old school Marvin Gaye.
Ooh. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Okay, I got a minute and 30 seconds to go put you on the spot. Somebody asked me a question similar to this the other day. So you're having dinner.
Yes.
Set the stage for me. Give me what you want on the table. What do you want to eat? Take me appetizer through dessert. Give me a good meal that you like. Give me a wine choice, and give me what music you want playing.
Okay, I don't drink wine.
Okay.
I drink vodka.
Oh,
so I would have the.
All right, next.
I would have the Jackie Collins, which is fantastic. It is raspberries. This
is Wolfgang Puck.
This is the Wolfgang Puck drink.
Yes.
Raspberries, vodka, lemonade, a little pinch of lime, and then club soda, and you shake it all up with a ton of ice, and then more vodka, and then you're ready to go.
We got your drink. All right, what are you eating?
Then I would start off with shrimps, fabulous shrimps with a fabulous creamy sauce, and then for a main course it would be the best mashed potatoes in the world, which are in the book, which are whipped up with sour cream and butter and milk. As you can see, it's not for dieters.
Yeah.
And then probably a fabulous, maybe the Santangelo salmon, which has a miso sauce, a red miso sauce, which takes 7 or 8 minutes to make and is fantastic.
Something green, something green.
Yeah,
you need your vegetable.
Vegetables.
Oh, see,
yeah.
you like me, vegetables.
There's cauliflower in there.
Yeah, good.
There's fabulous cauliflower. In fact, I was having lunch at Neiman Marcus with Joanna Poitier.
Yeah.
And the chef came out and he said, I made your cauliflower dish for you. And he had, and it was great. It's cauliflower with a lot of cheese.
What do you have for dessert?
For dessert, Cointreau with peaches.
Ooh.
So they'd be soaked in Cointreau, and they are delicious. They're also in the book. And that would be my perfect meal with maybe What's Going On, playing Marvin Gaye. I'm just such a Marvin Gaye fan.
You and I got to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have that meal.
We have got to hang out.
Yeah.
Jackie Collins is always busy. As I said earlier, since I last saw her on this set, she's written 3 books, but there are 2 out now that you can pick up. It's the latest in the Lucky Santangelo series. It's called Confessions of a Wild Child, Lucky the Early Years. And we have a new cookbook Lucky does, the Lucky Santangelo Cookbook, with all the good stuff in it that we just talked about. Who knows when I will see you next and how many books you will have written between now and then.
I know.
But I'm anxious to see what the Santangelos encounter
It's going to be epic.
You going to do a memoir one day?
I am.
You need to.
Reform School of Hollywood.
Oh, I love it. Reform School of Hollywood. Great title.
Yeah.
I love it. So you'll definitely be on for that.
Oh, definitely.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, see you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you, Tavis.
Jackie. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. And as always, keep the faith.